interesting things going on ecologically.
Okay, so thank you. Dr. Ahmed, I think that this participation of the professor in Sudan in this event and more studies and more researches now became as a cooperation between Sudan and United States of America. And this effort made by you personally. Well, tell me about this.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Actually, you brought a great point. And let me tell you a little bit about our, historical intersection with Aaron. So I have been working with him as a PhD student since 2011, and with great support from him. I'm very, grateful to him for that great support during my PhD work and thesis. I finished my PhD 2015, and then, we started to think about, forthcoming and future collaborations, partnership, and really I thought about my country, Sudan, as one of the vulnerable regions in the world from different perspectives, environmentally. So we are really lying at the sub-Saharan ecosystems, where drought and desertification are major problems, but also our environmental crises are further complicated and compounded by socio-economic aspects, such as poverty and conflicts, and all these kind of things come to play. Okay. So based on that, I proposed to Aaron, and I invited him to come over to Sudan to organize workshops, courses, and benefit me, my students, and my colleagues at the Faculty of Forestry of University of Khartoum and other governmental agencies related to environment and natural resources.
So you still now holding courses. What's the nature of the courses now? What's the most important points now we are discussing about these courses?
So the course that I've been teaching this week with Ahmed at the Faculty of Forestry at the University of Khartoum has been focused on how we monitor and understand biological diversity, how we measure biological diversity in forests and in other ecological systems, and then how we analyze those data on biological diversity so that we can communicate the information to policymakers and decision makers who will use that information to improve the country.
Okay, so I think that Sudan needs some kind of more participation from United States of America or for everywhere.
Right.
So what kind of these activities now should to be held?
Well, first of all, really, I'm in person very happy that we had that embargo lifted, because that, put a little bit, a huge actually pressure on the country in the side of importing technology. And nowadays, we are in environmental sciences. We need sensors, we need sophisticated equipments to work with it in the forest and make vital and valuable data collection schemes. And so certainly we will benefit from the collaboration and partnership with United States partners by establishing new facilities, importing expensive and complex equipment such as towers and fluxes, to measure fluxes and air pollution stuff, but also acquiring more or high resolution satellite imagery that is are expensive, but also they have some restrictions of download just due to our internet system here. So that also I think could be one of the areas of collaboration and partnership with our partners in the United States.
So Dr. Ahmed mentioned that lifting the sanctions is a very good thing at the coming days. What's going on and what's going to be in the coming days between the United States of America in terms of cooperation, in terms of forest, in terms of other things?
So I start by saying that I'm not a politician.
Yeah, of course.
So I don't know what the politics will be in coming days. I know that the sanctions were lifted at the beginning of January, middle of January, and I know there's a 6-month period to assess how that's working, and then the hope is that they will stay lifted. We have no idea what our new administration in the United States will do with this, but we hope that they will continue cooperation.
So my question is it open potentials and opportunities for United States of America, between United States of America and Sudan?
I think the potential is really there, and it's really great. And I think there are two aspects of cooperation there are probably three aspects of cooperation that are really important. One, as Ahmed said, is that there are opportunities to get access to equipment and material and information that was previously unavailable in Sudan. I think more importantly, there's the opportunity for students and faculty from Sudan to go to the United States and learn more about current ways of doing science and become more connected to the international scientific and research community. And I think that's really important. And then now there is also the opportunity for researchers like me from the United States to come to Sudan to teach here and to learn here and to work with our Sudanese colleagues to build the capacity in Sudan to do more and better research both nationally and internationally.
Okay, so I think that Dr. Ahmed, the forest is very important in Sudan. Which
That's
kind
right.
of forest we need in Sudan?
Well, I mean, just based on Sudanese ecological zonation, let me just put it on a zone that more of the people in Sudan know that we are really talking about 50% of the country is really dry, harsh, and desert, while the second half of the country is a little bit of grasslands, savanna, and some special zones such as the Nile strips and mountains. So if there is any efforts to be done on reforestation and rehabilitation of our natural forests, it needs to be done at the semi-arid ecosystems where the system is really kind of accepting new plantations and still within the affordability of doing subsistent irrigation and doing utilization of water, for example, precipitation using water harvesting techniques, for example.
Okay, so I think that the similarity between the United States of America and Sudan is very difficult to say that in terms of forest.
It is very difficult because the United States is also a very large country, and like Sudan, we have many different ecological zones, places where we have some kinds of forests, other kinds of grasslands, deserts, drylands, all sorts of different areas for different kinds of vegetation and different kinds of ecosystems. I think that one of the things that is very interesting about where I live in the northeast part of the United States in Massachusetts. It's a very wet part of Massachusetts. But one of the interesting things in our history, when Europeans came to the United States in the 1600s, the first thing they did was they cut all the trees down. And so by the middle of the 1800s, after 200 years, there were no trees there. And this was around the time we started to think about planting trees again and establishing a national forest system. The Harvard Forest, where I work, was established to talk about and learn about planting trees. But in fact, we really never planted very many trees. The trees grew back all by themselves without us planting them at all, by nature.
Yeah.
And so the lesson there for me as an ecologist is sometimes if you actually want an area to become forested again that once was forest, the best thing you can do is just leave it alone for 20 or 30 years, and the forest will come back because nature will help the forest come back. But you have to leave it alone. You can't go in and mess around with it and trample on it and do all sorts of things that are against what nature would like to do.
Okay, so we can take a short break and we come back again. We come back before the break. We are talking about the forest with the Professor Aaron Ellison and with Dr. Ahmed.
Thank you.
Welcome with you again.
Thank you.
Let me continue. our discussion about the protection of the forest,
Okay.
whether in Sudan or in the United States of America.
So whether
Because forest now being harmed by the people.
forests, people use forests. People use forests for wood. They use it for fuel, to build things, for charcoal, all sorts of things. We use the leaves, we use the bark, we use the wood. For many, many years, for centuries, we have treated trees like anything else that is not human. We treat it as a resource for us to use. If we really want to conserve and protect and preserve these forests, these trees, we have to start treating them with respect like other organisms. Of course, there will be times where we have to harvest them, but we harvest with respect, recognizing that we are harvesting another living creature, not we're just harvesting something that is just there for us to use. And once we start respecting the trees as living beings, then we take care of them better, just like when we respect our children, when we respect our grandparents, we treat them better than if they are just random people on the streets.
Yeah, okay. So let me continue about the protection of the forest in Sudan, because you are doctor and you are professional in this term of protection.
Sure.
Is that for laws to be set or for raising awareness of the people?
I mean, yes. So you really, I think you pinned on two important aspects here. But let me start with the most important, at least to my point of view. I think this has something to do with our education system, not really just the awareness of the public. My point is really about the education system that we do have from the primary school or even from kindergarten. We should start telling people that trees or all plants are just creatures and biological organisms, that they have the right to live as much as we do, right? But coming back again to the current situation, where I agree with you that there is the laws needs to be enforced and strengthened, and moreover, the awareness is really much needed at the moment than ever before. And here, I really, if there is anything to say, I should just blame the journalism, for example. Those are the people who are supposed to translate science and take these publications and findings that we do here or there in the United States or wherever in the country, in the globe, and send it to the people as sandwiches and messages, so that people can respect the forest ecosystems and not just think about it as resources, as just Aaron said. The other thing is that with regard to the awareness, we need also people to think about some helpful practices. Planting trees itself, it is not itself the goal. The goal is really, to facilitate life of others, organisms, right? Of course. But also, by doing so, actually, we will help to reduce the temperature that already our planet get warmer and warmer, and even, especially or particularly here in this region, it is harsher, and we are expecting more droughts just due to our irrational use of natural resources and deforestation.
Okay, so you have something to say about that, because you.
Well, I wanted to break in on the journalist part, right?
I'm sorry to bring that.
No. I think
we have to be blamed. I'll confess about that.
I think it's a very important point, because I think that journalists in the media, in the print media and the visual media, like this show, are doing a great service with bringing science and scientific information to a broader audience. At the same time, as scientists, we have to do more than simply create information and give it to you, and then hope that you do the right thing with it.
Yeah.
We as scientists have to be more engaged in that process. There's more of a two-way street here. There's more of a dialogue between journalists, the general public, and the scientists. Scientists, we don't actually learn a lot about that.
We don't forget the authorities.
Yeah, of course, of course.
Well, that is an important piece.
And it's an important piece for scientists to think about becoming involved in the political process as well.
Yeah.
But scientists, we learn how to do science. We don't really learn how to talk to non-specialists. One of the things we do a lot of in the United States that we could, I think, help the researchers here in Sudan learn about is we do a lot of workshops and education courses for ourselves where we work with media professionals. So we learn how to talk to the media and how to repackage our science, not just for our colleagues in science, but also for journalists. So in fact, our last day of our course here in Sudan, I'll be giving a presentation to our students about how to better communicate their science to much more diverse audiences. So it's not just writing a paper for a journal that only other scientists will read, but sometimes you write a newspaper article or a magazine article, or you come on wonderful TV shows like this one.
Yeah, okay. So let me continue with you, because by the end we need a balance in the ecosystem.
So this is a very important point to think about. And what I want you to think about, and I can run us out of time on this, right? But what I want you to think about is that when we talk to, excuse me, when we talk to people who aren't scientists, people who aren't ecologists, and we say, look around you at the world, what's happening in the world? Most people will say, well, nature is out of balance, and people have somehow pushed it out of balance. As ecologists, as scientists who study the history of life on Earth, when we look at the data, when we look at the information that we gather from all of our different studies, the one thing we can say for certain is that nature has never been in balance. It is always changing. It is always different. Every day, it's a little bit different from what it was yesterday, and next year, it will be very different. Because we live a long time, as human beings, we live 70, 80, 90 years. Those changes to us have in the past looked very slow. And so very slow changes to us look like it's sort of staying the same and staying in balance. What's happening now with climate change and with other impacts on the environments and the ecosystems is that change is happening faster. It's happening within our lifetimes instead of across our lifetimes. So we notice it more, and we feel it more, and we worry about it more. If we look over the long span of history, over the billions of years of the planet, there are times where change is slow, times when change is fast. The one constant is there's always change. Right now, we're in a fast change time. It's uncomfortable. What we need to do and figure out is both how to live in a time of rapid change and maybe how to slow it down a little bit. But we're never going to stop it. So looking for balance is like chasing ghosts.
Okay. We have many things to be discussed, but the time is running against us. I got a sign from control there. Thank you, Professor. Yeah, of course. Thank you, Professor Aaron Ellison, and thank you, Dr. Ahmed Ali,
for
being
much
with me here. And thank you, dear viewers, for being with me in our program, Open Debate. Until we meet again, goodbye.